Hello and welcome to our first in an off-season special on the draft. It's the Over Under podcast. We're not going to be having a look at odds. We're going to be having a look at quarterbacks today, and no one in a better position to judge them after having a look at some all 22 than Michael.
Oh yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say nobody better. My very ill-informed, my very ill-informed English opinion on them. But we like to do it every year, just have a look at these guys because, to be honest, it is the results are incredibly unpredictable when you're talent evaluating quarterback. The professionals don't do it at a very successful clip themselves, so we may as well have a punt ourselves at home because it's good fun.
Yeah, have a pop. Why not? All right, well, you can kick it off, Mike. I mean, let's have a look at your 1 to 5 is what we're going to do.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we know who the number one is, but let's do the number one
cool.
for posterity's sake anyway, and get that one done. Then we can have a look where you've gone from 2 to 5.
Yeah, sure. So I think everybody knows about Fernando Mendoza. He's going to go number one overall, for all intents and purposes. That seems to be the suggestion. Prototypical size, 6'5", 236 pounds. He's very large lad.
Mm.
Mobile. Didn't run a 40 at any point in the pre-draft process. I guess you wouldn't really expect him to. Um, it's not going to improve his chances of he doesn't need to do it really, but I'm sure if he would run it, I'd guess somewhere in the mid 4.7s, maybe high 4.7s if he got with a track coach to improve
Yeah,
his gait.
Best thing that could have ever happened to Fernando Mendoza, and he hasn't
Oh,
even.
being
that was me.
be, being
I was
Mendoza.
jumping the gun a bit there.
Yeah, he's playing a clip that. Um, So yeah, obviously they had a sensational undefeated season, national champions. He's a really interesting player. He's as I say, prototypical size, stands tall in the pocket, delivers over the top, very quite conventional throwing motion,
Mm.
and really thrives outside the numbers on a line. Like he can throw it a mile. And that's probably the biggest plus size of his profile is his size, his athleticism, and how far he can throw the football. I mean, he threw some post routes down the field this year that were 65, 70 yards in the air. Weren't
Mm.
always completed, but obviously they're not always going to be completed. But just to see that he can do that, he can throw digs, out in breakers as well.
The
The
back shoulder throw, one of his specialties there. Really,
Yeah,
really nice pro style throw that he displayed many times in the playoff.
yeah, I don't think I've seen a professional quarterback throw that throw at such a high rate.
Mm.
You'd think the Raiders would lean into that straight away as part of their offense is get a 3-by-1, put your best ball winning receiver on a solo side and just let him throw back shoulders against man coverage. So he'll be able to do that kind of thing straight away. Big outbreakers, corners, that kind of thing. And also, you probably wouldn't have a designed QB run game for him, but he can certainly scramble, and you might throw in a QB draw in the red zone, like in the national championship game where he absolutely ran over a Miami linebacker to steam in for a touchdown. Um,
Outstanding. Well, we were just saying earlier, he's weighed in at the high 230s pounds. I mean, he's a big
yeah,
lad, man. He can break them when he wants.
yeah, absolutely, and that's what I mean. I don't think you'd have a huge volume of QB run in the game plan, but you certainly would have some. I think some RPO as well, some zone read with Ashton Genty there in the backfield. That could be really interesting. A really interesting 1-2 punch in that backfield. So a lot of them think about. I think his style quite suits the Shanahan Kubiak offense that he's going to be playing in.
Mm.
He's going to be playing in that because he's very good on these. Indiana had a few of these rollouts, nakeds, bootlegs, throw on the run. He can certainly do that. And yeah, that's some of his best stuff, really. The weakness and the reason I'm probably not as high on him as I was on Cam Ward, for example, last year, I probably would put him behind the likes of in recent years that Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams class. I would have him lower down than all of those guys, purely because this offense is actually incredibly simplistic. It's very RPO driven. You'll
Mm.
watch an entire film, and he barely is asked to do anything other than throw RPOs
Mm.
and a couple of back shoulder fades. Doesn't really put that. I see a lot of people saying that he pushes it. pushes it into the middle of the field and he's willing to throw into windows. I've just got to say, in the 5 or 6 games that I watched, I didn't see a huge amount of evidence of that. A couple of third and longs he did, which was impressive. Certainly, I want to give him credit for that, but it's not at the same rate. It's not at the same rate that Cam Ward was doing it. Like Cam Ward's film against Cal last year was absolutely sensational. If anyone wants to go back and watch that, it's absolutely stunning. And you saw some of that towards the end of last season come into his NFL game. I think that's going to be tough for Mendoza. I think he might struggle there a little bit, and I think they might have to baby him slightly, which is why I probably would have him. I'd have a solid mid first round grade on him, but obviously any quarterback with a first round grade gets pushed up into the top 10. So I'm not mad about him going number 1 at all. It's just I just think that there have been more superior talents over the last 2 or 3 years. That I probably would have taken ahead of him, but that's just my preference, I guess. So, do you have anything you want to add on him?
I think I might have him a bit higher than Cam Ward, actually. I think
Most
some
people do, I think.
intangibles there. Yeah, I think the leadership
Yeah.
and the way he's respected. You saw Cam Ward being a little iffy sometimes with that when they started losing last year in Tennessee. I don't think Mendoza would be like that. I thought Cam Ward was a bit one read and then done oriented. I mean, I know you watched more of him, but I guess that was a knock on Mendoza just gave as well. So it's all about how they can develop. I think he's actually got a high ceiling, Mendoza, because he's a smart player and he seems to take a lot in. So yeah, I'd probably have him a bit higher, but yeah, it's just about where they go really at this point and how they're integrated.
Yeah, absolutely. No, a landing spot is a huge thing. I think he's going to a good offense he's got there's some talent on that offense, and you'd think they'd be able to put a good scheme in place for him. I would say that is actually he can go 1-2 run, and that is he's brilliant. He's brilliant at that. And Cam Ward was able to last year get to the backside, get to 3, get to 4, get to the check down. And Mendoza doesn't really do that. He'll go 1-2, and then he is a good athlete, but he's kind of a bit gangly. He's sort of arms and legs going everywhere, and he'll sort of scramble out of the pocket and make a play. And what the downside of that is, he took some really bad sacks last year that just looked like 15-yard losses and stuff that just look terrible on the stat sheet. So he's got to improve that part of the game. He has to be able to get to a backside concept. In the NFL, you just have to, because quite often the first 2 things aren't open in the NFL. So he'll learn that, and I think he'll improve in that area. I think he'll be a good starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I just see the sort of the top end upside. I'm a little bit unsure of in terms of how elite he might end up. But the Raiders need a starting quarterback, so it's I don't have it.
They're probably the best option they've put out there in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't have an NFL team, so if I did and I didn't have a quarterback, I'd certainly be taking Mendoza number 1 overall for sure.
Well, everyone can dream, Mike. You never know.
Yeah. Speaking of dreaming, Ty Simpson has got his NFL dreams off the ground now. He's after just 15 collegiate starts, he's gonna try his arm at the NFL. Good season for Alabama. Especially in the first half of the season, he was excellent, and he was really getting touted as a potential Heisman Trophy winner and top 10 draft pick. Alabama got to the playoffs, so it wasn't a disastrous season by any in any respect. So I would say let's talk about the positives first. So he can throw it. He's got like an above average NFL arm off the bat, I would say. Can throw to all parts of the field. He actually does get through reads, so he will go front side 1-2, then backside. So he can process from the pocket. He is a coach's son, which I think you can sort of see that he's got like very, very polished footwork and things like that, and mechanics that you can tell he's been working with probably a private QB coach for a lot of years, or maybe even with his dad. I don't know. So he does do those things at a high level, and he clearly understands the game. Like, he knows when he's hot, he knows when to throw hot, where the ball needs to go when there's pressure, all that kind of good stuff. So the problems come though. He took an injury So he took an injury in the second half of the season that really seemed to impact him. He had core and arm injuries, I believe.
Yeah.
And his play really dropped off. So he became very skittish in the pocket. I imagine not wanting to get hit, which is obviously a terrible look on film going into the NFL. I will give him a slight pass on that because if playing injured, you probably are going to be concerned about getting hit. Um, he
Yeah.
is small, so he's 6'1", 211 pounds. He's in like the bottom 25 percentile, I think, for weight of quarterbacks that have been drafted over the last sort of 20 or 30 years. And you do worry about him. He's only played 15 games, some of that because other quarterbacks were preferred ahead of him to play for Alabama, and then also taking injuries when he did get his limited chance to play.
Yeah.
I'd have very real concerns about his durability at the NFL level. Um, but I just and you see a playmaker, a guy that understands the game, in my view, and who will be, I think, could be an NFL starter. More likely will be a career backup, but I think he
Yeah.
could be. I think he can be an NFL starter. I wouldn't have him again. This is a bit like Mendoza discussion. I saw more plus arm talent and pure playmaking ability from Jackson Dart last year. So
Yeah.
I was quite happy for Jackson Dart as a fringe first rounder, early second rounder. We haven't really come on to this yet, but yeah, Ty Simpson, he won't. I don't think he'll be going in the first round. If he does, it's quite a push for me. I think middle of day two, end of the second round, mid second round is where I'd be looking to take him. And you certainly wouldn't want to with 15 collegiate starts. He needs a full training camp. He needs to get some weight on his frame, and then he needs to watch from the sidelines for a year, in my opinion, before he'd be ready to come
Yeah.
into games. And then you'll see what you throw him in there after that and see what you have. It's not a huge risk, a second round pick on someone like that. So it's worth a
No,
risk worth taking. But I'd be a
yeah.
bit concerned about the upside. But yeah, go sorry.
Well, given the current situation, the Cardinals and the Steelers, potentially the Steelers, depending on the Rodgers but situation, but definitely the Cardinals looking for a quarterback. So I could see Ty Simpson going early, just because of the incredible need some of these teams have, which would be interesting. Um, but yeah, I agree. That's the grade you have is what I would agree with. Just looking at his stats last year, 28 touchdowns, 5 picks, completed 65% of passes. I mean, very good. Very
Yeah.
good stat line for the SEC. Um, you just want to see him do it over a few years, though.
Yeah.
It can be tough. The Mitch Trubisky situation, where you're just taking a quarterback after 1 year of production. It's ugh.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and
I feel like since Brock Purdy's come in, everyone's been a bit more on the we like career starts now kind of bandwagon. So it'd be interesting to see where it actually goes.
the if you look at the statistics on people with less than 16 collegiate starts or something, which is what he has, the list of those quarterbacks is like a rogues gallery. It really is. The only
Yeah.
one that I think I heard this on Move the Sticks. Daniel Jeremiah was talking about the only one that's really sort of profited from that position was Cam Newton, and obviously he
Uh,
had just an overwhelming physical skill set to get him through the first couple of years.
yeah.
And that those starts, he did play a year of JUCO as well. So he played junior college for a season and
Yeah.
then played a year in the FBS. So he actually had a lot more starts. Just pure 15 start career is very hard to overcome going into the NFL historically. And then yeah, the physical element, and he isn't like a touch accuracy thrower. There are wild, even the first half of the year when he
Mm.
was healthy, wild misses that are kind of
Yeah.
inexplicable, that don't even hit, not even in the paint, just
Mm.
miles outside the field. So yeah, those are the downsides. But I certainly think there's a football player in there, and I think you could draft him in the second round. If he that's a relatively cheap contract for a quarterback. You could keep him for the length of his contract if he doesn't work out as a starter for you, and you can be your backup. You're
Yeah.
not very much like JJ McCarthy is now going to be for the Vikings, but you're not paying him top 10 draft pick money. You're paying him,
Mm.
you're saving yourself some money there. So I really think it's a risk someone will take and worth taking. But I don't see the Dan Orlovsky, this guy's a better player than Fernando Mendoza hype train. I think that's just silly season stuff for me personally.
Yeah. All right. Let's get on to number three then.
Yeah. So I'm going to be a little bit different. So this is Lance Zerline's list. So you can see he has Carson Beck coming in three. We'll talk about Carson in a moment. I actually thought Garrett Nussmeier was my number three quarterback. Um,
Yeah.
Almost an identical physical skill set to Ty Simpson. It's actually uncanny. They're very similar weight. He just has the 1 inch on Simpson Nussmeier, another son of a coach.
Crazy.
An NFL coach. His dad actually coached for the Eagles as quarterbacks coach. He's now with the Saints with Kellen Moore. So yeah, and you see that in his film. You see the pro polish in his game. He will get through reads. He understands what the concept is that's been called for him. He has a good enough arm. I would say he probably doesn't have quite as strong an arm as Ty Simpson. He's going to be reliant on getting the ball out on time, in rhythm of the play. For me, my pro comparison is Brock Purdy. I think it's a very similar physical skill set. Obviously, Purdy wins with his mind and with his timing and accuracy. So that's something that Nussmeier will have to try and pick up as well in the league. And similarly to Purdy as well, they're very similar size. Nussmeier this season he got actually injured in spring ball and still wasn't healthy for the regular season. He played the entire regular season with an injury. And
I mean, his stats are definitely down year on year.
yeah,
2024, 25. So I wasn't actually aware he was injured. But I assume he must have missed some games because he's got a lot. His numbers are far less in 2025 than what they were just volume wise in 24.
yeah, he did. He did miss some games this year. He also got, there were some games where he was playing very badly and they benched him. So we can't overlook
again, what we're talking, we like to see that progression year on year, and it's not quite there for him.
No, and I understand. People will say that, and that's a totally valid comparison. I guess I'm maybe a little bit more optimistic than some people on Nussmeier. I can see. So I've been lucky with him to see a lot of 2024. I saw 4 games from 2024 and 4 games from 2025. And the 2024 film will get you interested. It is really, really good. So he gets through reads, he gets to backsides, he knows exactly what the intent of the play is. He actually scrambles a little bit in 2024, whereas he really doesn't look capable of doing that in 2025, probably due to the injury. I wouldn't be placing a second round grade on him purely for me. I actually think he's a very talented quarterback. The problems for me are purely the health, the physical, and the size. He's just at 200 pounds. He's so light, and his injury clearly have impacted his play. And you're looking at, again, pro comparison of Brock Purdy for me. Purdy is always hurt. He's one of the better. He's a top 10 talent in the NFL. Purdy on his day, but he misses 4 or 5 games a season. And I think you'd have a similar concern with Nussmeier. But I'm probably higher on him than probably the consensus viewers. Maybe it sounds like maybe a bit more than you too.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. It seems like there's Mendoza and everyone else. So we've got about 6 minutes left. So let's rattle through 4 and 5.
Yeah, this is gonna have to be very quick. Beck. Carson Beck is a big boy. I had no idea how big he was. He's huge.
It didn't look like that when you're watching him for sure.
6'5", 230, lots of experience, played lots of college football. Again, can get through a read. I did that a lot more at Georgia. I actually saw some 2023 and 2024 games of Beck, all 22. And the Miami offense was so basic last year. It's very much like the offense that he used to run in Oregon, the head coach. Forgotten his name, but yeah, it's very simplistic. So he didn't get a lot of chance to demonstrate that. And outside of Malachi Tony, the little gadget slot receiver, they didn't have a huge amount going on the outside either.
No.
So he basically was dinking and dunking all season. I just think he's a very steady Eddie. He knows the position. You pointed out to me the other day, and I've heard there might be some off the field concerns in terms of his maturity and not really being a team first guy. That would obviously concern you because he's going to come in straight away as a backup. He will not be starting anywhere in the NFL when he's drafted on in the third or fourth round. He'll be coming in as a backup, so he's going to have to adjust to that very quickly. I just have
Yeah,
confidence if you throw him in there, he could be the 33rd best, 34th, 35th best quarterback in the NFL. Like he could be like one of the better backups in the NFL.
yeah.
Along with that's pretty much how I feel with Nussmeier. A bit like the boy in Houston last year. Oh, come on.
Davis Mills. Yeah,
Davis Mills, yeah, the last couple of years when he's had to come in and play, he's got them through games. He wins
yeah,
games as a backup. I genuinely think if you lost your start of half a season, Carson Beck could go 500 or maybe just over in those games. I think he might get to that point.
yeah,
And he's got a strong enough arm, not an overwhelming arm, but good enough. And as I say, he can get through a read. So you don't see that a lot in 2025, but I've seen it previous years. So I'm not, I'm probably maybe not quite as high as NFL.com are on him, but I certainly would be comfortable taking him as a backup certainly for an
yeah.
NFL.
Yeah, so some concerns about the way he left Georgia there, bit of bad blood, and the character issues. Which, as you said, if he's going to be a backup, that's not ideal. But no, I'm pleased to say I did not like him for most of his college career. In the playoffs, he showed me a little bit more than what I thought he had actually. When they had to drop back and pass in the playoffs, he could do it.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's proven he can do it on the big stage. So why not? He's definitely worth a second, third round pick.
yeah. Apart from the cool stuff they do with Malachi Tony, that offense is a hard watch. And it really
Yeah,
was. It reminded not in terms of it reminded me when Justin Herbert was at Oregon. And those two are not similar players in any way. I'm just saying purely as the offense. Like you could in the NFL, we've seen how brilliant Herbert is and how effective his deep ball throwing is, and they just didn't let him do it. It's just
yeah,
bizarre. Like they have 5-star athletes everywhere, and at Miami, and they just wouldn't really uncork it and let him do
yeah,
stuff. But I guess I am contradicting myself now because the outside options weren't great. So maybe that's why.
yeah.
Just run the ball, keep it close, and let that Ruben Bain et al. Get after you on defense. That seemed to be their formula. So 5 for me, very quickly, is K Klubnik. This is purely by default. He's one of the 5 quarterbacks I've seen film of this year. Well, sorry, Drew Aller, but we might have to talk about Drew Aller separately because we've run out of time now. But I think he's got the leg up on Aller. Can move around, decent size, little light still. You would worry about his weight as well. Again, struggled with injuries at Clemson, and as you say, didn't take the next step last year. So he was on a sort of like a light upward trajectory, and then that Clemson team was a disaster last year. And
Yeah,
Klubnik was
touted
kind
as
of
a first rounder, potentially the best quarterback in the class, and not living up to that at all last year.
no, he does have he has a decent arm, but I just watched South Carolina today. They won the game, but he literally missed, just didn't see 3 or 4 wide open touchdown throws in that game. So I think there's
Yeah,
vision issues there. Doesn't see it maybe as well as you'd like, or would need to play in the NFL. Competitively for a long time. Again, though, he's got some moxie. He's got some experience. He can move. He's not completely immobile. They'll run QB counter and QB draw with him at Clemson. You won't ask him to do that in the pros, but that does suggest to me that he does have some mobility to his game. So
yeah,
as a round 5 dart throw, I'm
mm,
absolutely fine with Cade Klubnik to come in and be. You're probably now at this point looking at a developmental QB3. You might have to stash him on the practice squad. He might not make the active roster.
yeah.
But I think he's I like the old theory of draft a quarterback every year and see where that gets you. And he would very
Oh
much
yeah.
fit that category. Just to have a closer look at him and maybe
No,
put him on scout team.
throw a Jackson Dart at him. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And we have 30 seconds to talk about Drew Aller. How do you feel about Drew Aller?
Um, yeah, I mean, similar to Klubnik, he was on an upward trajectory. He had a good last year, 2024, and it just did not work. Penn State was a disaster this year. So he's a tough evaluation. He's got the size that everyone likes. They similar to Klubnik or what was who were we discussing before? The guy before Klubnik.
Oh, Beck,
Um,
Carson Beck.
Beck, yeah, Beck. The outside options weren't there, so I don't
No,
think he really got to show his arm. He obviously has a big arm, um, character, another concern for me with Aller. Famously played a high school game against St. Ed's from Medina, Ohio, as my father-in-law told me, where he was yelling at his own coach, and he did that with
Oh,
James Franklin as well last year. So
oh wow.
it should be. I mean, people will take notice of that. I think it's not a
Yeah.
great look for him. Yeah,
You see an overwhelming athlete. Like he is a phenomenal athlete for his size. And he can move
yeah,
around a little bit as well. He's prototypically built, but he just doesn't have the he doesn't have an understanding of how to play the quarterback position, how to get through reads, what he's looking at pre-snap.
no,
It's just